So if you remember the last time we filmed a Bigger Than Us, Fishing is Our Language video, it was in the United States, it was in New York. We were fishing with Daisuke Aoki, who is a 3-time Japanese Angler of the Year and had won Angler of the Year in 2017, the same year that I won it in the US. And meeting up in Japan and meeting up for the second time, for me, there's a pretty big difference in the anticipation of meeting up with Daisuke this time versus the first time. The first time there was a lot of nerves of like, you know, can we joke around with each other? Is he a positive person? You know, am I just gonna enjoy being around him? I already knew all the answers to that at this point, and so meeting up in Japan and meeting up for the second time for me was just building a friendship that goes way beyond just this Angler of the Year exchange. So kind of the first day here was visiting the Bassmaster All-Star Classic. Wild. You know, it just kind of came about that Daisuke was fishing that tournament right before we met up, and so we were gonna be fairly close in the area. I decided I wanted to go see that. I've read about that tournament and followed along with it for several years now, and had the opportunity now to see it in person. I was gonna take advantage of that.
I'm like blown away at how many people are here. I definitely did not expect it, so it's really cool to see. I always knew that Japan's the second largest fishing market in the world for bass fishing, but this is like mind-blowing how many people are here.
I was absolutely blown away when we got there that morning.
Oh, hi.
Thank you for today.
Thank you, yeah. Very good to meet you.
2011年のルイジアナデルタのクラシックの時に現場で僕取材させていただいて
2011 and he showed up to the Bassmaster Classic. And,
My first one.
Then he sent to you.
Yeah.
Over there.
Yeah, first one.
来ていただいてありがとうございます。
Thank you so much
Thank you.
to coming to here.
Thank you, thank you.
Seeing people that have been fans of mine for years that I've never got to interact with, and you know, and people that had like some magazine articles from when I won my first elite tournament, and some of that stuff, and you know, like really old articles, was really neat to see. And then once everyone was out on the water, we went to this marina and they had this wall and it's got all these old pictures, right? It's like kind of has your old mom and pop tackle shop feel, and they've got this wall and it's got all these signatures on it. It's got
Shin twice, Yusuke, Toshinori, D's, which is Daisuke.
And I got the honor of being able to sign that wall. So it was cool to put my name up there, you know, and be able to kind of add it to that group of really high-class anglers in Japan. Seeing the weigh-in was probably one of the coolest things at the All-Star Classic.
The energy is incredible here. Everybody's so positive, excited. It's pretty uplifting.
Because you could tell how engaged everybody was. When you looked around, you know, take a step back and just look at the people, and everybody was super focused on every angler that came to the stage. And it was really neat to, you know, get to see Daisuke. And then also a lot of these other guys that I've either met or names that you recognize just from reading in the magazines and you know, just being immersed into that, and how excited all those people were and how many people were there. You know, I think that was probably the most surprising thing to me, is that I did not realize how many people came to that event and how big that event was.
It was just more than I could have asked for, more than I expected. Really neat to be able to, you know, meet face to face with a lot of people that I've talk to digitally through social media and stuff. So it was cool to meet a lot of those people, and looking forward to coming back. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I have an invite to fish next year. So we're gonna try to work on sealing that deal up and figuring out if we can't get back here next year. And it's kind of a new goal to try to win this thing. It's the biggest tournament in Japan, so it'd be pretty cool to come over here and be the first guy to win internationally.
Day 3 is a pretty relaxing day, mostly filled with travel.
Yeah, we were gonna ride with Koki, but she's got a small SUV, 3 of us, plus our bags, plus Takeshi and all their camera gear was gonna be a little tight. So we're taking the train and meeting them at the hotel.
This station, the T1.
The really cool thing with Japan is how easy it is to get around their country. They have a very advanced transportation system, and it seems like everything is very well thought out. Some of the places, at first, when you're looking, you're sitting there, you're staring at the big board that's up there at the train station, you're trying to figure out, like, okay, I have to go from here around, it's gonna cost me this much. Once you understand how it works, it's actually a very well thought out, easy system to use. At first, it can be a little intimidating because a lot of it's in a different language, and there's a lot of different colors going around for every different train and a lot of different places and cities. But once you understand it, it's pretty easy. And if all else fails, you just, type it into Google Maps and it'll tell you which train to take.
Pretty sure we have to go that way.
That way? What's it say?
Next we have to go to platform 2. It's right up there. That's just our exit ticket. Is my guess. And then we buy our tickets over there.
We get to see a good portion of the countryside of Japan, traveling from Tokyo all the way to Biwako, and then getting there and being able to really just kind of spend time walking around the lake. We didn't have a schedule of things that we had to do or anywhere that we had to be, and instantly I see the water and I can tell how many people fish in Japan. There are people fishing everywhere, and there's people fishing on the bank. There's people out there in bass boats, in like little tiny commercial boats, little 12-foot aluminum boats, and there's literally just people fishing for all kinds of different types of fish and doing it in so many different forms and different techniques. It was actually mind-blowing to see like how much of a part of their culture that is, dating way back. And even a lot of the little kids and stuff that would, before school, after school, they'd go with their parents, they'd be fishing off the bank. It was a very big part of their day-to-day life, which is very neat to see. You don't see that in a lot of places in the US. We're gonna hang out with Daisuke and the D-Style crew, go to dinner that night, and Daisuke ended up not being able to make it. His son had got sick, so Daisuke actually stayed back to take his kid to the doctor, and we ended up going to dinner with the D-Style crew without Daisuke. And even without him, it was just fun group to be around.
Yes. See you tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks for dinner.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
There's a pretty big difference in the anticipation of meeting up with Daisuke this time versus the first time. Meeting up in Japan and meeting up for the second time for me was just full of excitement. I already knew that I could joke around with him a little bit. I actually have a mask that was in his D-Style crew van. I wear it, and that's how I introduced myself to Daisuke. Daisuke! Oh. Hey! Good to see you.
いい並木じゃないですか。
Ah, Namiki-san.
Long time no see.
As soon as we get out of the truck and we see Daisuke, he says, "Long time no see," in English.
You've been practicing English. Mutt.
Very good. Revert back to the last video where I said his dedication was impressive. He can already speak English. I can only say 7 Japanese words. Right, getting to fish on a lake that I've dreamed of with a group of guys that I love being around, and and getting to see his take on the lake and how he approaches it and how he approaches a body of water. It's his turn to take the driver's seat, hop in his boat, and just kind of see how he approaches everything. After a couple months since the first time I spent time with Daisuke in a boat, it was just good to be back in the boat together, fishing and just doing our thing, in our element, having a good time. Oh.
Oh,
Not very big.
Woo!
That didn't take long. Look at this. Look how cool that line. That's crazy. I've never seen one with that like hard of a line.
It was amazing just being able to communicate a little bit more than what we could the first time. All that did was just like build our friendship even stronger, I felt like.
How do you say?
no fish.
How do you say?
Same.
Same?
Same.
No fish?
バスいない。あ、バスいない。バスいない。
Bassy night?
いない。
Bassy night?
いない。
Bassy night. Bassy night. No fish.
The one thing that was kind of a bummer going to Lake Biwa this time of year is that the time of year that we are there is really the toughest time of the year that you can possibly fish at Lake Biwa. Oh.
Carp. Bassy night. Bassy night.
Knowing that it's tough, it's kind of a bummer. Not a lot of fish catches. It made us think and stay on our toes, and then when you did catch one, it was just that much more exciting.
Small? Oh. Not that small. Oh. Yeah. Very skinny. He was hungry.
Hungry.
Look at that, he's so skinny.
Even if it was a 2 or 3 pounder, it was exciting because we knew how tough it was, that you felt like you were accomplishing something.
Good job. Little. Yeah! 10 incher.
Obviously, day one was kind of tough, but we still caught some fish, managed to figure a few things out.
Lucky fish.
So we finish up day one, awesome day on the water, awesome experience, just being with everyone, reunited again. And this brings us into our first night eating dinner with everybody, with Daisuke included. And obviously we got Tiff and Kyle and the whole crew. We end up at this really cool restaurant. It's kind of all fishermen, and they just start ordering stuff. So obviously everyone is like wanting to learn and joking around with each other, but one of the funniest things is trying to get the D-Style crew to pronounce English words correctly, and then trying to get us to pronounce Japanese words correctly.
McDonald's.
Apparently this chef is like a huge fan of fishing, and he comes out with this massive Rapala giant lure.
How does he just have that?
Sitting in the back room.
Which I've signed a bunch of these before, but I've never had somebody pull one out in a restaurant and just have us sign it. And so me and Daisuke signed this big lure, and the guy's pumped. I can't think of a better way to end the first day hanging out with the entire crew at the restaurant and really just kicking off this entire experience. So day two, going into it, we had been launching at Rush Marina, which is a really cool place. It's got this just awesome boat hangar. It just had this really cool, nostalgic look to it. And that was definitely a first for me in Japan, in anywhere in my entire life, launching a bass boat with a forklift. And it's actually a really slick system. So day two, we get out there and really not getting a whole lot going in the morning. Oh, little. You could tell that every day we spent on the water, like every hour that we spent together, everybody is coming closer together. And when you get to that point, even when you're not catching fish, you're having a good time. And that's, you know, that's really what it's about. Oh! 14-pounder? Oh, look at big head! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! D-style for the win. One of the things that I did not think about or expect to work so well on Biwa was a lipless crankbait. I don't have any, so I'm just gonna borrow one of Daisuke's. Can I try one of your lipless? The crankbait? Lipless crankbait? Can I try one? That's right, we're good enough friends, we can do that now. And actually, it started catching some fish. There we go. Better. Lost one. It felt decent. Good one. No. No. Make it look big. Make it look big.
Put it on the lens. Oh yeah. Giant.
Giant. They weren't big ones, but we're on them. So we finish up a fun day, day two on Lake Biwa, and decide to head back to Rush Marina, where we gather up, take some photos, and get packed up, pack up the van, and head to dinner that night. And this is kind of the last night that everyone was gonna be able to spend dinner together. And it was one of those nights where we weren't fishing, really didn't have anything to do with fishing other than the fact that that brought us all together. You just automatically look forward to getting that group of people together, because you can't create that same feeling with all groups of people, but with that group it happens every time, and so you can't help but be excited for the next time that everyone meets up. I'm just grateful for this entire experience, and looking back on it, it's crazy to think that just through fishing, all of this happened because two guys had a love of fishing from completely opposite sides of the world, different backgrounds, but most importantly, it's the people that I've had these experiences with, the people that I've learned these things with, that I cherish the most. And it's fun to look back just a few months ago to when we were nervous about whether or not we would even enjoy time together or being around each other. Good job. To now looking forward to the next time that we get to shake hands and spend time on the water. What do you mean, what are we gonna do?
I want to catch bass. Lots of them. Big ones. 10 pounders. Both of us. Same time.